Hey. Are you guys multiplying or what? The group with Conaway suddenly crowded in from the main street, leaving Bardo flabbergasted. No wonder. The inn was pretty crowded, and cats in costume still hung around in the waiting room. Now 7 more people swarmed in, and the small waiting room was filled beyond capacity. And what's more, what's with that look? Devil costumes? And in the unlucky number 4, too. Resting his elbows on the reception desk, Bardo stared at the devils. They were definitely strange, but the place was full of cats in costumes, so they didn't stand out that much. Conway thought it was really fortunate that the festival was happening now. 2 rooms probably isn't enough anymore. When he glanced up at Bardo, a weary gaze looked back at him. Don't tell me they're intending to stay. Normally that'd be fine, but unfortunately there aren't any more rooms. I wonder if any of them freed up. Bardo clutched the lodging book that he had close at hand, and began to flip through the pages. Just as I thought. Just in time. A visitor left just a few minutes ago. What do you mean, as I thought? You never checked? It's tedious to do it when there are so many visitors coming in. It's fine to check every now and then. You're not running your inn very well. You'd be surprised. Indifferent to Conaway's incredulous look, Bardo lifted his face to the devils, scratching his chin. Well, 2 rooms I can't do, but there is one. How about it? Conaway looked back to the devils behind him. Watching them all in a row like that was an incredible sight, but Conaway simply turned back and gave them a casual, questioning look. That won't be a problem. We don't have to worry. That's not your voice. We don't have to worry about beds. We're fundamentally unlike cats. Unlike... Fuck, this... Well, shucks, unlike cats, what do you mean? No, it's not, they're weird, it's nothing. He glared at the tactless Verge. Bardo looked confused, but soon shrugged it off and went back to writing in the guest book. Well then, your room's on the 2nd floor, to the far left. Okay. Conway took the key Bardo held out to him. Bardo closed the inn book and left to the kitchen. Conway sighed and looked at the devils facing the desk. You heard him, right? Oh, of course. Why don't we head to the room now? Froud seemed awfully cheerful. Well, he's always cheerful, really, and faced the stairs. His strange glossy tail bounced. Hey, you hurry up too. Verge grabbed the shoulder of Kaltz, who was watching the street from the waiting room window. Kaltz immediately shook his hand off and moved away. Don't touch me. Disproportionately violent light dwelled in his unusually calm features. Yeah. Verge shrugged and walked towards the stairs, scratching the back of his head. Kaltz turned his face away and was the very last one to go up the stairs. As Conway saw the back of that figure, he wondered if there was any affinity or antagonism among devils. He looked back, searching for Ray and Asato. The 2 of them had entered the inn and were leaning against the wall. Even so, there was a considerable amount of space between them. What a loud group! Just the fact that they exist is fucking annoying, Ray murmured in irritation. His white tail thumped loudly against the wall. Conaway, do you still want to see the festival? When asked, Conaway pondered a bit before opening his mouth. Oh, right. I didn't really get a chance to see anything before. I see. What about you, Asato? Asato hesitantly opened, then closed his mouth. The liveliness of the main street was probably unimaginable to Asato. If Konoe goes, I go. Ending his hesitation with this resolution, Asato moved away from the wall. Thinking that even Rei had no objections, Konoe turned his gaze. But just then, Rei's white figure moved towards the stairs. Rei? Now that he tried to call out to him, it felt like something was touching his tail. It was Asato's tail. He turned around. Complex eyes firmly gazed at Konoe, and they silently told him that being together with Rei would be trouble. Konoe was at a loss for what he should do, but soon Rei had already headed up the stairs anyway. Because they'd fight if they were around each other, he felt that he understood Asato's feelings. No matter how much he thought about it, looking around the festival together with Rei just wasn't going to happen. Wanna go? As if he'd waited the chance to be asked, Asato didn't let the happiness show on his face, but his ears twitched with delight. Secretly smiling, Konoe left for the main street with Asato. The excitement on the street was even more feverish than when he'd first gone out. For now, the parade had begun, and a mass procession passed down the middle of the street, while showy music played. Showy music. Though it was a sight that would excite anyone who looked on, Konoe dropped his gaze to his feet and pondered. Even the tempo of the upbeat music went in one ear and out the other. Where to go, what to do, experiencing the first festival of this scale could not be so reckless, even though he had someone else here with him. When he came outside again, he tensed up in anticipation of yet another surprise attack. But he glanced at Asato. His expression had not changed much, and he seemed virtually unaffected. However, he was probably even more nervous than Konoe. His face stiffened subtly. His eyes darted from the street to the parade performance, and before long, he turned entirely to the parade. Konoe decided he had to be firm, so that Asato wouldn't become disoriented. Thinking this, Konoe called out to Asato. You okay? Yes. If you're tired... I'm fine. I'm just a little surprised. I've never seen so many noisy cats before. Same for me. Even in Kaoru, the festivals weren't this grand and flashy. Do you know how many cats live in Susa? Well... Konoe shook his head, and Asato focused his eyes on the horizon. Susa is a lot bigger than Kira. It's endless. Yeah. And that was why he wanted him to learn about it. Looking up at Asato's profile, Konoe secretly muttered this in his mind. For a while, he watched the parade with the wave of cats, but then a loud voice entered his ears, making Konoe turn his gaze in that direction. A barking voice cried out from the stores packed tightly alongside the street. Do you want to look at the stores for a bit? Asato. Oh, no, that was fuck. Fuck. Do you want to look at the stores for a bit? Asato nodded in silence. Okay, then don't get lost. Slowly crossing the flow of cats in one direction, Konoe brought Asato to the side of the street. Each and every storefront sold clothes and miscellaneous goods. From shady tools to old books, everything was lined up neatly in rows. The customers cheerily conversed with the shopkeepers, many of them inquiring about items. Asato stared at the items in the stalls with childlike eyes, as everything he saw was probably completely new to him. Thinking he looked a little funny, Konoe slowly peered around the stores. He soon came to forget about keeping an eye on Asato. Konoe was also curious about all the goods that were lined up, so he absorbedly looked here and there. After spending some time immersed in this, Konoe suddenly came back to his senses and looked around. Asato wasn't there. While Konoe was looking around the stores in a daze, it seemed that Asato had strayed away. Konoe restlessly looked around his surroundings, getting a little worried, and at that moment... You ran away without paying! Wait! A little way from where they'd separated, an angry voice cried out. When Konoe looked around, he saw that a crowd had gathered in front of a certain stall. What was happening to cause such a fuss? Oh, shenanigans. Feeling a terrible sense of foreboding, Konoe ran over immediately. Pushing his way through the cats standing in place, he moved to the front of the crowd. Just as he thought, his foreboding was right on the mark. The focus of the uproar were Asato and a store owner. They were glaring at each other. Konoe stood in mute amazement. Asato was holding some grilled chicken in his mouth. You thief! Pay for that! The middle-aged owner's face was bright red with anger. Pay? With money? Oh no. Asato! When Konoe called to him, Asato turned around, his fur bristled on end. Slipping the grilled chicken out of his mouth, he looked at Konoe in mild surprise. Why did you do this? Because it looked tasty. Did you pay with money? Did you pay with money? Fuck. Blah, blah. Money? No, that's not your voice. Money? Money? Money. Money? Apparently he hadn't. Do you know this guy? Take responsibility. The store's owner's angry look pressuring him. Konoe took a pouch with money out of his flax bag. When he asked how much it would be, a palm with 5 fingers spread was held before him. 5 pieces. 5? For a single piece of meat? Because he was scampering around, my wares were knocked over and fell to the ground. It's outrageous. Konoe's gaze wandered behind the store owner. Sure enough, a large basket had been overturned, and the fruits inside were scattered on the ground. Huh. Konoe reflexively turned an incredulous look in Asato's direction, but he was certain that he didn't understand the situation. For the time being, he handed over the 5 coins and slightly bowed his head. I'm very sorry. Tie this crazy guy up somewhere, jeez. Ugh. The store owner swore and gave a rough snort, and then squared his shoulders and returned to his store. The straining tension relaxing, the group of cats crowded around gradually returned to the busy festival. Blowing a small sigh, Konoe glared at Asato to his side, partly in exasperation. Asato wore a puzzled expression. That guy just came over and started shouting. You didn't have to apologize. You're the one at fault here. Konoe held back the end of his sentence to keep from raising his voice. Don't you know that you have to buy it? Buy? Blah, blah, blah. Fuck. Buy. Asato looked at Konoe as if he didn't get it. You said buy. How do you do that? A strange feeling of exhaustion came down on him. Certainly the village of Kira was completely isolated from the world, but he didn't realize Asato didn't even know this much. I handed that shopkeeper some round stones just now. Whenever you see something you want from this stuff on display... Oh. Not you. I handed that shopkeeper some round stones just now. Whenever you see something you want from this stuff on display, you'll need these stones to be able to trade for it. Without these stones, you can't have it. Really? Asato looked at the ground with a meek face and mumbled his words with a sigh. It seemed in his own way. He knew what he did was bad and he felt down about it. Sorry. I messed up. It's alright. You didn't know. If you're not sure of something, just ask. And if there's something you want, just tell me. By the way, I'm totally aware that I've alternated Asato's voice between two different voices. I can't keep it straight. I'm sorry. Okay. He wasn't particularly angry. Still, Asato was making a clouded face. For him, this was probably an inexcusable thing. Konoe didn't understand how Asato felt, but he was troubled to see him so upset. Are you still worried about it? Everyone makes mistakes, right? Even with this, Asato's lips stayed shut. Hey, I know. After sighing and swaying his tail to lighten up his mood, Konoe pointed to the grilled chicken meat Asato was holding in his hand. Here, you took that because you wanted to eat, right? Yeah. With an apologetic face, Asato nodded. I'll have half. I decided to buy that meat for you and me, so this ends the conversation, okay? But... Interrupting Asato's words, Konoe snatched the meat from his hands. Then he bit into the meat with all his might. Asato opened his eyes wide in surprise. The finely grilled, savory flavor spread on Konoe's tongue. It's delicious. Chewing, he tore half of the meat off with his fangs and gave the other half to Asato. Asato looked completely nervous and timidly took the meat. After we eat this, we can look around at some more places, since it's such a long-awaited festival. Hurry up. Okay. With a nod, Asato brought the meat to his mouth. If truly pushed to say, Konoe would have liked some fruit even more than meat, but since Asato seemed to really like the meat, he thought it might be okay to eat a little more, just to have the flavor in his mouth. After he finished eating the meat, Konoe once again slipped into the wave of cats on the main street, pulling Asato's arm.